This is the last document that I will be sharing involving my case. We're just going to hop into this one. Declaration of emotional harm, psychological warfare, and conditioned abandonment declared by Heaven-Marshay Hope, living woman, lawful guardian, injured in fact. All rights reserved without prejudice. UCC 1-308, November 22nd, 2025. Preamble. Let the record reflect. I, Heaven-Marshay Hope, submit this declaration as a sworn and verified statement of fact. Lived harm and systemic abuse. This declaration is not emotional expression. It is evidence. It documents the emotional, psychological, and spiritual injuries inflicted upon me and my children through systemic misconduct, discrimination, targeted deprivation, unlawful seizure, institutional negligence, malicious delay, and collective abandonment. Every assertion herein is supported by the MRE federal filings, international submissions, and public record documentation. Statement of harm. Emotional harm. The harm inflicted was not incidental, brief, or accidental. It was prolonged, punishing, and deliberately perpetrated through repeated refusals to enforce my rights, suppression and dismissal of evidence, the unlawful removal of my daughter, the denial of lawful remedy, ignoring direct urgent requests for help, willful disregard for escalating danger. The emotional injuries include grief severe enough to destabilize my nervous system, trauma-induced insomnia, emotional exhaustion from carrying the burden entirely alone, profound feelings of isolation and abandonment, psychological collapse averted only by my children and willpower, ongoing distress caused by continued state interference. This was not accidental harm. This was weaponization harm. Psychological warfare. The conduct in this case constitutes sustained psychological warfare, evidenced by unpredictable delays, contradictory instruction, set of reversal decisions, procedural sabotage, intentional confusion, and weaponization of silence, a known psychological manipulation tactic. The intent was unmistakable. Break the mother, force the compliance. This is coercion. This is intimidation. This is state-created psychological endangerment. Conditioned abandonment. This system exploited my vulnerability and the collective conditioning attached to mothers, melanated women, single guardians, and self-represented litigants. I call for help, statewide, federal, and international. No one came. Friends fell silent. Family disappeared. Institutions ignored me. Professionals deflected responsibility. The public scrolled past my police. That was not coincidence. That was conditioning. alert indifference to mothers in crisis, a systemic expectation that harmed women must suffer quietly. This abandonment magnified the trauma and turned injury into devastation. Findings of systemic misconduct. The harm did not happen in isolation. It was systemic, coordinated, documented, predictable, and entirely avoidable. Multiple institutions, courts, agencies, law enforcement, and federal bodies participated in or permitted this harm. Through action and inaction, they collectively violated my rights, disregarded evidence, endorsed false narrative, prolonged preventable harm, and deepened emotional and psychological trauma. This is a pattern. This is systemic discrimination. This is institutionalized cruelty. Spiritual and energetic harm. Beyond procedural violations, a deeper harm was inflicted. The tearing of a mother-child bond, destabilization of my spiritual grounding, emotional shockwaves through my lineage, resurfacing of ancestral pain, psychic distress caused by sustained injustice, and the energetic rupture created by the unlawful seizure. These harms transcends paperwork and policy. They strike at identity, lineage, and purpose. This is intergenerational harm, liability, and accountability. Every entity that contributed to or enabled this harm is jointly and severely liable for emotional distress, psychological injury, spiritual disruption, familial destabilization, and immeasurable trauma documented through the MRE. This includes state agencies, courts, clerks, judges, police, child services, counselors, and federal oversight bodies who ignore clear evidence of danger. There are no exceptions. There is no immunity for cruelty. There is no shield for discrimination. Remedy and damages. Given the magnitude, duration, and severity of the harm, and given that the injury continues until my daughter is restored to my lawful custody, the emotional, psychological, and spiritual damages are valued at I will not be sharing a dollar amount. This valuation reflects sustained emotional injury, long-term psychological trauma, systemic discrimination, intentional infliction of emotional distress, compounded and escalating harm, lineage level impact, and egregious governmental misconduct. This valuation is lawful, proportionate, and justified. Closing declaration. I've survived what no mother should ever face. I've stood alone while the world watched quietly. I've carried burdens designed by institutions, and I carried them without collapsing. Now I express the harm, I document the harm, I quantify the harm, I claim remedy, and I place the world on notice. Emotional harm is evidence, psychological warfare is evidence, conditioned abandonment is evidence. There is no language expansive enough to contain the grief that I have carried. I am genuinely astonished that my heart continues to beat beneath the weight of what I have lived through. The pain was constant, crushing, and at times indistinguishable from death itself. This was not fear. This was not sadness. This was full body grief. One that swallowed breath, movement, and even hope. And the most devastating part was burying it in a world that left me to suffer alone. There were delays. There were days when the grief was so consuming, it felt as though my spirit was being torn out of my body. And yet I still had to stand, I still had to fight, and I still had to be a mother. Nothing about this was survivable, and yet I survived. I carry this pain not as weakness, but as evidence of what was done to me, and as proof that no human being should ever be forced to endure harm of this magnitude again. In this declaration enters the record today, sworn, witnessed, and irrevocably true. I declare under the penalty of perjury, under the laws of the United States, that the statements above are true, correct, and based on first-hand knowledge. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King Jr. I am not behind, I am aligned. I speak the law of truth, not fear. Every false structure around me must fall. My words hold weight, my light reveals lies, and I stand protected spiritually, lawfully, and divinely. I reserve all rights reserved, all submission made in truth, honor, and in good faith. By Heaven-Marshay, hope, living woman, lawful guardian, authorized representative. All rights reserved without prejudice. UCC 1-308. I'll never really be able to bring into words the weight of this. I'm sure that it's actually a serious, I don't know. When people really, I don't know, people always kind of reference me being strong, but that's not the angle I was really fighting from. I was fighting from an angle of I really don't have a choice but to do this. That was my angle. This wasn't about being all strong and having this strength or something. I just wanted my daughter back. I just want a remedy. I just wanted support. And to not get those things during such a traumatic period of my life was, oh gosh, it was a grief I wasn't even expecting. And these are separate damages from the punitive damages because it was so much. It was just it's really just, I don't really have the words. I don't know, it was really a lot. And yeah, and I would not wish this on, I don't want anyone else to ever experience this. This is why we should amplify the story now. So y'all can amplify it whenever y'all want, but I would recommend, watching my videos and stuff so you guys can fight. And it won't be the same this time, and that's great, but this was a lot. I am only a human, guys, I don't know, I felt like so much less than a human fighting this. I don't even know. I can't really explain it. I don't really want to talk about it anymore. I'm just